Imagine living every day when you're not sure if the next day will be your last or your miracle. Telling yourself to get to the next day when you just feel like giving up. For the last 13 years, Wes Mallicone has been the Director of Sports Medicine at Shippensburg University. He and his 3 full-time staff members are responsible for approximately 525 student athletes, monitoring their health and well-being. As a young boy, Wes loved to play sports. Baseball was his favorite. At the age of 38, Wes is enjoying life and especially working the job he loves. But it wasn't always that way. At the age of 9, he welcomed a little brother, Trey. A few months after Trey was born, just like any other hot summer day, Wes was playing baseball. After a week of his persistent symptoms, Wes told his parents and was taken to the doctor. From then on, his life would be completely different. Wes was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. 4 years later, at the age of 13, Wes had a non-invasive procedure. The results came back positive for a primary sclerosing cholangitis.
They had informed me that at some point I would need a liver transplant. They estimated it at that time that maybe around age 25 is when I would need that transplant.
PSC is a disease that only a small percentage of males are diagnosed with. Wes was 13 and already had 2 diseases. Wes decided to stay somewhat close to home and receive his undergraduate degree in 1999 from Duquesne University. He then went straight into his master's and chose Shippensburg University. While there, he worked as a graduate assistant under the then Director of Sports Medicine, Steve Heckler. Working under Steve opened many doors in his career, including a summer internship with the Philadelphia Eagles for training camp.
Before training camp was over, I like to think that my hard work and effort really paid off, and they liked what they saw, and they offered me the opportunity to come back as the full season intern.
A few years later, Wes had his first episode of cholangitis, an infection of the liver. He had finally become sick enough to need a transplant.
At age 32, I was officially put on the transplant list. I would get blood work every so often so that you're updated on that list.
He would then get a MELD score, which gave doctors an estimate of how sick and how soon they needed to find Wes a liver.
Over the 4th of July weekend of 2011, had a full body infection, which they deemed septic, and they had put me on numerous antibiotics. Over the next couple weeks, I would be sick for a week, home for a day, and go back in for a week.
His body continued to deteriorate. His skin was becoming more and more jaundiced. He knew how sick he was. He knew the time was coming. He did all the things he could to give himself the best opportunity to survive.
My MELD score increased from 22.5, and then finally it increased to 33.5. And at that point, I was notified there was an organ that was available and that we were ready for a potential transplant on August 4th, 2011 at 3:30 in the morning.
The surgery took 10 hours, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Less than 72 hours after the surgery, Wes was able to take a few steps out of bed with assistance and sit in a chair for an hour and a half. The organ was a perfect match.
When they removed my organ, they felt that I probably had till the end of the year. You just have to stay positive as best you can, and there's no question that it is very hard. And it should be hard, and it's to be expected. But your focus should be just get to the next day.
No one understands what Wes went through better than the Pennsylvania Athletic Training President, Jim Thornton, who received a kidney transplant, an unselfish gift from his own sister. Wes received his organ from Give a Gift of Life, who matches donors to certain agencies.
Someone in your family needed an organ, would you then change your mind and say, well, Yes, because it directly affects me.
Wes lived almost 10 years longer than what doctors expected when he was diagnosed with his second disease at the age of 13.
There were times that I'd be at home as sick as possible. I would scream and yell in my house when it'd just be me. I'm sure if people were walking in the neighborhood, they're like, what is going on in that place? But the reality is that's some of what helped me get through, by just yelling and getting some emotions out. I know that there's someone right now that was just as sick as I was that didn't get that liver, or passed away a week prior, that allowed me and afforded me that opportunity.
If it wasn't for his support system, doing everything in their power to ensure he received a liver, today, Wes may not be with us.
There was an opportunity for me to go to the Mayo Clinic in Rochester to have a workup done, to be listed in that region. And I stayed with one of my best friends, Eric Sugarman, who's the head athletic trainer for the Minnesota Vikings. And him and his staff, Tommy Hunkley and Rob Roach, they came down and visited me and took me to appointments and things like that. And those are the types of things that help individuals like myself, and we all know other individuals that we've helped along the way. That's what gets you through those types of things.
4 years after his transplant, he can finally take his mind off being sick and worry about the sweeter things in life, a girlfriend.
Not everyone, I think, would be so accepting of someone who has gone through a transplant or has potential health issues down the road. But she knows that, she understands that. This has been a great addition, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Raising awareness for organ donors is in itself a 24/7 job. Wes is willing to share and talk about his experiences in hopes to help and save more lives like his in the near future.
Although today may not be the day, that tomorrow will be the day. The best that you can do is to stay positive and to do everything in your power to give yourself the best opportunity, given the opportunity of a transplant.
Remember, tomorrow is promised to no one. Famous words from a former liver cancer patient and NFL standout, Walter Payton. Now at the age of 38, Wes is prescribed 22 pills a day, but is able to live his life normal. August 4th at 3:30 in the morning, Wes's second birthday.